Mike Maharrey is the communications director for the 10th Amendment Center. He earned a BA in Mass Communications and Media Studies from the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. He has covered local and state politics for several publications in both Kentucky and Florida and won 2 Kentucky Press Association awards as a sports writer in 2009. Mike currently produces web content for a Lexington television station. He started with the 10th Amendment Center as a volunteer, where his communication skills were immediately recognized. He was subsequently offered the permanent position of communications director. A native Kentuckian and adopted Floridian, Mike currently lives in Lexington with his wife and 3 children. A longtime hockey player, he's equally passionate about protecting and preserving the Constitution and keeping pucks out of his net on the ice. Mike Maharrey, welcome to the Global Freedom Report.
Thank you very much. It's great to be on.
I take it then that you are a passionate goalie of some kind.
I am. That is in fact what I am.
All right. I would hope you're passionate about it because of that last comment that I pulled from your bio. You're an award-winning sports writer, so I take it was hockey your main sport that you reported on?
Actually, being in Kentucky, it was really more football and basketball. I worked for a small paper and covered mostly the high school sports in the area. So there's a lot of football and basketball and those type of things. There's not a lot of hockey in Kentucky, unfortunately. I'm kind of misplaced.
Well, and there's also not really a whole lot of pro football there. But being that you were a football commentator, do you have any feelings one way or the other about the possibility of an NFL lockout or a player strike?
Wow, I don't know. I have a feeling with the money that's on the table and what both parties have to lose that ultimately they're going to work something out. I just can't imagine them wrecking the golden hen, so to speak, that they've got. I really think that they may pull into preseason a little bit, but I just can't imagine that they will end up wrecking the season.
I'm feeling very optimistic because they got this federal mediator who worked with the NBA and the NHL and the soccer league successfully avoiding strikes, and he's got them they've extended by 7 days their deadline, and hopefully that means this week we'll have something positive to say. You're a Kentuckian. What do you think about Rand Paul, the new senator?
We're pretty excited about Rand here in Kentucky. He's not perfect. He's a politician, but he's certainly gone in and rattled some cages. That's for sure. And really, he wasn't when he ran the primary. Nobody expected him to even win a primary, much less end up getting that Senate seat. And it just goes to show the power of the message of liberty.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the other thing is, as a rookie senator, he doesn't necessarily know all the things not to do. As a result, he's out there speaking his mind,
which is a good thing. I think that not knowing how to play the game is definitely a good thing in this situation. And I'll be honest with you, I think a little bit of it is just his personality. I've had the opportunity to speak with him a number of times face to face, and he's pretty much a no nonsense kind of guy. That's the way he campaigned, and it's refreshing to see him working in the Senate in the same way that he campaigns.
Where does the states' rights movement stand today? Summary overview.
I think right now you're seeing a revival in interest in states' rights, and I really think that's been precipitated as much as anything by the healthcare legislation. I'm amazed at the mainstream attention the concept of nullification has gotten over the last several months. We just had our executive director interviewed by Time Magazine, wide-ranging discussion on state sovereignty and state rights. I think right now it's probably more in the news and in the top of people's mind than it has been in many, many years. And it's pretty exciting.
And I'll tell you something, I can confirm that. I just recently got a call from 60 Minutes wanting to do a preliminary interview on sovereignty. And I've gotten calls in the last 7 months or so from ABC, NBC, 60 Minutes, Discovery Channel, and one other out there. And these are all mainstream, big-time mainstream. So the issues of states' rights, of sovereignty, of freedom are indeed being taken up more and more by the mainstream, and I agree with you. It's very, very exciting. What can you tell us about existing or proposed health care freedom laws? We know there are a bunch of states that have been coming out saying, all right, we're going to pass a law that says our citizens don't have to comply. Where's that all going?
Well, we've got multiple approaches that different states are taking. I think the strongest approach are outright nullification bills that have been proposed by 11 different states. The ones that have progressed the farthest actually was probably Idaho. It actually passed its House, but unfortunately was killed in the Senate. These bills basically declare the entire bill null and void within the state and put some teeth into it, actually providing for criminal and civil penalties for trying to enforce it. Another state that has had some success is North Dakota. A similar bill passed. They took the teeth out and took out the criminal penalties, but it did pass in a kind of a watered-down form in the Senate in North Dakota. So that's probably the strongest approach that you've got. Texas also has a similar bill, and like I said, 11 different states have proposed nullification legislation. You've got a bunch more states that have proposed, and many have actually passed, what we call healthcare freedom acts, which really deal more with just the insurance mandate and provide that their citizens don't have to purchase insurance, and it kind of tries to nullify that one provision while leaving the rest of the Healthcare Act intact. And then, of course, you've got all of the states that are pursuing it through the court system, which isn't really nullification per se, but it's still a state resistance and certainly has to have some impact on Washington, if in nothing else, just letting them know, hey, we don't accept this.
Well, we have the recent ruling, what was his name, Dixon? I think the judge in, was it Florida or Virginia, who ruled it unconstitutional, period, and he just gave the government 7 days to come up with a reply. And he stayed his ruling for those 7 days, but it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. Are you preparing for the ultimate Supreme Court showdown on the issue?
I'll be real honest with you. At the 10th Amendment Center, we're not that concerned about what the courts say or don't say. We are really putting our stock in what the states do. If the Supreme Court were to rule that the entire bill is constitutional and that the government has the right to force everybody to buy health insurance, we're not going to accept that that's constitutional just because the court says so.
But would you, for example, would you submit an amicus, a Friends of the Court brief to the Supreme Court before it issued a ruling? Would you participate in the process, or do you just stay away from the judicial end of it?
We've really stayed away from the judicial end of it. We would certainly applaud if the Supreme Court were to rule favorably, but our real focus, like I said, is in encouraging the states to stand up and apply their sovereign right to say no in and of themselves, regardless of what the court system may say.
Now, what happens? Well, we're talking the various Health Care Act related states' rights bills. You just went through a whole plethora of them. Have any of these been challenged by the federal government in a judicial venue? And if not, if they are challenged at any point, would the 10th Amendment step in to help in the defense of the state's position?
That's not something that we've really considered. Like I said, the court issues just aren't something that we really push. We're more on the side of pushing legislation through the state legislatures, and basically, the states can act with or without the ruling of the court. The states can refuse to implement, regardless of what the court says. The perfect example of this is the 15 states that have medicinal marijuana legalized within their borders. Federal courts have ruled, hey, you can't do that. States did it anyway. That's really more of the approach that the 10th Amendment Center takes. It's really about the states and their sovereign right, and siding with what Jefferson said, that the states have as much right to declare a law unconstitutional as the courts.
There you go. All right. Excellent. Now, okay, we talked a little bit about the healthcare freedom laws. What about the Firearms Freedom Acts? There are several states out there. The first two to do it were Tennessee and Montana, but there have been other states that are basically coming out and saying that, hey, if the firearms are made here, they're used here, if they're not taken across state lines, then the feds can go screw themselves. Where are those at these days?
Well, again, a number of states have proposed those type of laws. In fact, we've got legislation that's been proposed here in Kentucky. We've really encouraged states that have proposed these Firearm Freedom Acts to actually take it a step farther and go all the way and do what we call an intrastate commerce act that really covers everything. Anything that's made, used, and kept within a state's border rightfully should be free from any federal regulation. And Virginia actually passed intrastate commerce bill. I believe it was in their house.
I thought it was Arizona, or maybe Virginia also, because I seem to remember.
I can look real quick and tell you exactly.
I think Arizona either passed it or was working on it. One of the two.
I know that Virginia did, and hold on just 1 minute, and I can give you an exact update on where that is.
Well, while you're looking that up, okay, in terms of the Firearms Freedom Acts, specifically the ones in Montana and Tennessee, the ones that actually did pass and were signed into law by their respective governors, the federal government had already come out and said that, well, we don't care what the state said and everything. This is the law. Have there been any incidents that you know of in either of those two states since the respective laws went into effect?